Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband News. The NTIA has released their initial list, their self-certification list for the Buy America, Build America program, or requirements for the BEAD program. That lists the vendors who have self-certified for that. I will be right back with more and who those vendors are. Hey, thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Zquorum with some broadband news for you. And this is, from the NTIA regarding the Build America, Buy America. So this was the Build America, Buy America Act that requires, to provide lots of American equipment in various projects, including the BEAD program. And that's one of the requirements in the Notice of Funding Opportunity for BEAD, is that there would be compliance with the states and with the subgrantees, that they are making sure that there is compliance with this program. Now, there were some waivers that had to be issued because, there's certain things for fiber deployment, for example, where we just can't get the quantity of the kinds of materials that we need. Maybe by the time we're actually deploying fiber, we can actually do that, because there's some issues with some equipment and the chips. A lot of times the vast majority amount of the cost of the equipment is in the chips that go in the equipment, but there's other things like iron and fiber optic cables and those kinds of elements, and there's some waivers for some of those things, not everything. But some of those waivers do allow, for example, again on the equipment, where they could waive the parts where the chips are a high cost factor. So I did link to this in the description. I also linked to a prior stream that I did about the self-certification process, if you wanted to check that out. But today we're going to talk about who's on the list. Again, they've just released this. This was just the other day. So you see here this is kind of going back in time, and I think this is when I did that last stream. So on July 30th, 2024, the NTIA published the information about how the BEAD program stakeholders can show compliance with the Build America, Buy America, or BABA requirement. I'm going to start calling it BABA from now on during this stream. One aspect of this compliance framework is the BABA self-certification list for the BEAD program. So again, back then they provide information about that, and today they're saying, okay, now we've got vendors who have self-certified. Today, the Department of Commerce released its first version of the self-certification list, which allows manufacturers who have invested in domestic manufacturing to voluntarily certify, at the risk of federal penalty, that certain equipment they make meets the domestic manufacturing requirement listed in the BABA waiver for the BEAD program. So again, BABA is required in the BEAD program, and then there were some waivers to that. I believe I listed a link to those in the prior stream. I'm not sure if I have it in this one, but a couple of things I linked in the description of this video. President Biden and Vice President Harris made a historic commitment to connect everyone in America to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet service while creating good-paying jobs and boosting American manufacturing. Today's release of the BABA self-certification list for the BEAD program is another step toward realizing this goal. Any news that they can put out about this is good for them and the presidential campaign, because again, this has been turned into a campaign issue, because this program, it's been 3 years now since we had kind of BEAD. And we thought by now, I think almost everybody thought by now, that we'd be, in the midst of broadband deployment from this program, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen until at best next year, possibly late next year into the following year. So again, late 2025 to into 2026 for the majority of that building to take place. And of course, the election here is just coming up here in just a few weeks. So. Any news they can make about this, which is good, any kind of progress that they're showing. This list is a direct response from manufacturer feedback that NTIA heard during the creation of the BABA waiver for the BEAD program. Numerous companies expressed concern that their domestic manufacturing investment may be undercut by companies falsely claiming BABA compliance. Giving companies a self-certification option with the safeguards of federal penalties for misrepresentations helps create a level playing field and provide an additional layer of compliance with the BABA requirement. BEAD grantees and subgrantees will also still be responsible for confirming the equipment is compliant with BABA, consistent with grant law and regulations. So in other words, if a subgrantee goes to a manufacturer and says, hey, are you guys BABA compliant? They can say, yes, we are. Well, if they're not on the self-certification list, then officially they're not. Now, I don't believe NTIA is doing, I don't know for this for a fact. I remember looking at what was required. I don't think they were doing any checking on this, but the manufacturers we're talking about here are not ones that are likely to lie. And with the federal penalties, it would be, I would think, a stiff penalty if you said you were certified and you're not. And certainly if you're not on the self-certification list, then a subgrantee would, I think, not want to do business with that manufacturer. And the subgrantees have to get a certification letter from the equipment company, and they have to hold on to that in case there's an audit. So there are some controls in place, but it is a self-certification list. So any of these companies, and I'll open this up here in a minute to show you who they are, any of those companies can just say, yeah, we're compliant, but they obviously have to be. This list, we mentioned that, giving companies a self-certification option with the safeguards. I think I said that. Yeah, I did. Sorry. In the first version of the self-certification list, linked under approved waivers, no, it's not. I'll show you in a minute. Nearly 20 companies have proactively self-certified that they are making broadband equipment in the U.S. that meets the domestic manufacturing requirement in the BABA waiver for the BEAD program. NTIA will update the list as additional companies submit or amend the self-certification submission form. There's a disclaimer on here. NTIA is providing links to third-party non-government company websites in order to offer additional context and added value. NTIA is not responsible, nor can NTIA or Department of Commerce guarantee the validity or timeliness of the content on hyperlinks outside the federal government. Links to non-federal government websites do not imply endorsement of any particular product, service, organization, company, information provider, or content. So they're just saying, hey, here's a list of people that said that they're in compliance. They've self-certified, and they know that they're under federal penalty if that is not accurate. And then the only place you can get a list, I looked around, the only place you can get a list is from this image right here, which I'll open up. And this shows you who, and down here you'll see kind of the key. You've got the green dots are iron and steel. Electronics, that would be things like OLTs, ONTs. I don't know if there's routers and stuff in there. I don't think so, looking at these. Enclosures, and then cable, which would be like your fiber optics kind of stuff. So you can see here we've got in Santa Clara, California, we've got DZS, and we've got Nokia. DZS is a company started out as Zone Technologies, and then I think in 2016 they merged with Dasan, so it became Dasan Zone for quite a while, and then I think in 2020 they kind of rebranded as DZS, so that's who that is. Then you've got Corning here in Gilbert, Arizona, a big, obviously, fiber optic provider. So that would be under your cable. You've got, can I make this bigger? I know I can click. Oh, that makes it really big, doesn't it? And then we've got Brownwood, Texas, Superior, Essex, Grapevine, Texas, WaveNet. Let's make it small again. That's really big, too big. Then we've got Montgomery, Texas. What is that? Ether Fiber Solutions. We've got Baytown, Texas, National Strand. In Huntsville, Alabama, Adtran. They've been based there. I used to visit Huntsville, Alabama, and call on Adtran when I was with a circuit board manufacturer back in the 80s, early 80s. Wow, that takes me back. Then we've got in Norcross, Georgia, not far from me, we got OFS, a fiber provider. What do we got here? This is in Van Buren, Arkansas, Beckart Corporation. Above that, right in Rogers, Arkansas, we've got PLP. So we've got iron and steel there for Beckart and PLP. We've got enclosures. Jackson, Tennessee, we've got Prismian. I'm not familiar with them. Duncan, South Carolina, we've got AFL as a fiber provider. Catawba, North Carolina. I should check to see if they were impacted by the hurricane there. And I did check. I actually checked Duncan, South Carolina. They were hit a little bit by Helene, but we've got Duncan, South Carolina, we've got AFL, fiber. Catawba, North Carolina, CommScope. Again, they might have been impacted there. Hickory, North Carolina, Corning. So Corning in there. So CommScope surprised me. I didn't realize they were big into the actual fiber optics. CommScope, I always thought of them as equipment. And then, of course, they purchased Aris, big cable modem and CMTS manufacturer. And they purchased CASA, another CMTS manufacturer. And I know they offer EPON. In fact, we provide, we resell their EPON equipment for that market. And so I was not aware that they did fiber. We've got Hanover, Maryland. There we've got Siena. Aurora, Illinois, we've got Westel. Westel is enclosures. We've got Edinburgh, PA, enclosures. Great Lakes Data Racks and Cabinets. Syracuse, New York, we've got PPC Broadband as fiber optics. Auburn Hills, equipment there. We've got Calix, obviously a big player with Calix. And Nokia, again, obviously a big player. So these, got Nokia, Adtran, DZS, and Calix, all, major players here in the United States, especially Adtran, Calix, and Nokia in various ways in the United States on the equipment side. Then we've got Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Vertiv, Kenosha, Wisconsin, Nokia, and Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. We've got Clearfield being enclosures. Nokia and Kenosha, Wisconsin. I remember that because that was the first company that said, hey, we're going to be building our equipment here in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was a big deal. Vice President Harris came out. They had a big dog and pony show there. I remember streaming that and streaming some video from that. So they were the first there, Nokia, and you've seen the list is built here since then. So this is the list, and there's 19 on here. So you can find the list right there when you go to this page. I did link to this, and you click on that graphic. And as I mentioned, it mentions somewhere here it is, in this first version of the self-certification list, which is linked under approved waivers. I looked everywhere and I could not find it. They actually have, as far as I can tell, they've got a mistake on the URL. When you click that, you come to this page, and then if you go under approved waivers, you see here is where I think it should be. Build America, Buy America self-certification list for the broadband equity access and program, BEAD, for the BEAD program. But when you open that, you get a Build America, Buy America self-certification disclaimer. So I believe they were supposed to have their list here. I don't know what else is going to be on it. I'm assuming it's got the company, just very similar to the map, the company, what they do, and where they're located, and a link, because they were talking about, you're going to be some links that go outside our website. We can't confirm that they're correct, those kinds of things. So probably a link to these companies where you can get information on their BABA stuff. But again, I can't find it anywhere on here. I did actually reach out to the webmaster of this site an hour or so ago to say, hey, I think you've got an incorrect link here. That's the only place I could find it was that link. And it appears to be just the waiver and not actually the list. So again, you can get that list from here. I don't think these are not linkable. That just makes it really, really big. So again, don't know where to find that yet. It could be in a couple of days that'll show up. So that does give you the information though as to who the vendors are. And again, there's information in the description of this video on if you want to know more about Build America, Buy America. If you want to know more about the waivers, I've done a couple of streams on that, and you can find information about that in the description of the video, and then a link to another video that talks about the self-certification process and what was going on there. So you feel free to check that out. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. If you found this interesting, if you give me a like, I'd appreciate that. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when I'm live. I will see you next time for Broadband News. Take care. Bye-bye.